Welcome back, everyone. So this will be a quick recap of what we did on Tuesday, right? On Wednesday, sorry guys. So for those of you who joined us for the first time, I would encourage you to just peruse through the other videos, the HTML videos, and feel free to ask to throw your questions when you see me in class. You're welcome once again. So the first thing that we did was we actually had a review of the CSS selectors, which are let me just go back there. So which are the IDs and classes, and we understood the IDs to be unique, and classes we could actually have elements sharing the same class name. So let's jump right straight into fonts. So when the first thing we did was to create our 03 fonts.html. So this will be very quick. Let me zoom in for you to Control B to get rid of this. Let me zoom in. Yeah. So a boilerplate, just the exclamation mark, then you hit enter. Then we'll come right here and we'll change this title. Sorry guys, to font. Sorry about the background noises. So basically what we're going to have in our HTML code is just two divs with an ID. So and to do that, I'll say welcome. So I'll hit enter. It didn't work. So, or you could just do div and come inside here and say ID and say welcome. And inside my div, I'll have an h2 tag with a class of primary heading. You could give this any class name, and see I actually joined primary dash heading. So I could just come here and say welcome. Then I'll have a paragraph of lorem 20. So I'll save that. I'll come right under this div and also have another div with a class of about. I don't know why this isn't working. Class of about. Yeah. So I'll still have an h2 with a class of primary heading. Then about. So this might look different from what we did in class, but it was just exactly what we did. I'm just structuring it differently. Lorem 20, then I'll save. So we now have two unique divs, and what actually makes them unique, they have their IDs, welcome, and so this is like we're actually reviewing what we also did, in the last class. So the reason why I'm actually using the div is so we get accustomed and used to making use of divs and classes. So just as we did in our first class, we'll go into the head of our document and we are going to use the internal CSS. So we say style. So inside the style, we're going to let's target the first div. Let's target the first div. So I'll say welcome, and inside I'll say font family. So this is actually the property, and the value would be so whatever font I want to go. This is actually web safe. They call these fonts web safe fonts. So let me go for Arial, and I actually explained what this actually means. This is say our browser or whatever actually loads our content does not find Arial, then it will degrade to Helvetica. Then if it doesn't see Helvetica, it will see sans serif. So when I save this, remember I'm targeting the first div, then I'll go live. So, and for those of you who are new, and if you don't know what Go Live is, it's actually an extension. To download it, you click this icon, extension. I'll need to get my internet to have this work. Then I'll come here and I'll say live. So let me get my internet on. So all you have to do is to say live. Just so the first extension, you click it, then I won't click install because I already have it installed. So when I click this, it will go off. So guys, I've gone live, and as you can see, you can actually distinguish the first div from the second div because I actually targeted it and gave it a font family of Arial, Helvetica, and Sans Serif. So we're back to our Visual Studio Code, and let's target the second div. And remember, we give it a class name of about. So we target it and we say font family, and let's go for Georgia, Time New Romans, and when we save this, and let's split screens, and let's have it here. You see that this actually has like a different font family. Yeah, you can actually play with this and give it whatever font you want. So let me go for a weird font. So let's go for this one, right? And one thing you should notice, all these fonts I'm actually loading. The first font that is targeted is Trebuchet. So recall what I told you guys about degrading. If you can't find Trebuchet MS, it looks for this one, and vice versa. So as you can see, the font actually changed or whatnot. So guys, the second approach I showed you guys was to make use of the Google font. In fact, we have service providers font providers, like the companies who actually specialize in, but we're going to actually target the Google font. So all you have to do is to Google search Google fonts, then come right here. Let me zoom in. So, and you click Google fonts. So when I actually come right here to Google fonts, let me switch my theme. So I don't know whether you prefer this, but I prefer black. So I'll come here and I'll look for a font called Roboto. Or you know what, let's just do exactly what we did in class. So we'll go for Nabla, but you can actually add a lot of fonts here, so you can go for whichever one you prefer. So I want to actually experiment with these fonts. Then all I have to do is to scroll down. There are so many styles of these fonts. I'll scroll down. Let's go for the regular. So see this icon. I'll zoom in and click this icon. What this does is, observe when I click this icon, a red, there was like a red notification here. And when I click there, I'll scroll down and we'll read this. It said, use on the web. To embed a font, copy the code into the head. So all I have to do is to copy this code, grab this code, jump right straight into my VS Studio Code. Before that, let me jump right straight into my VS Studio Code. I'm inside the head and I'll paste this, get my code in order, shift tab. Tab, guys. Sorry, not shift tab. Shift tab will be to, So I'll go back to code. So I'll jump right straight to my VS Studio Code and paste it here. Like I copied it from here, and I pasted it here. So when I save, I have to go to my browser and see. So you see, sorry about that, guys. So you see that the font has changed, and I have to be connected to the internet to get this up and working. So these are the two major ways. I didn't show you the third way. As we progress, we'll actually get into that. So guys, the second thing we did in class was we looked at colors. So you could just come here and click here, or do our normal touch. Let's do our touch so everyone can. Okay, let me touch. I don't know why it's appearing here. So let me do. So we did touch and we said 04 underscore colors, or colors, yeah, .html. And when we did hit enter, we got rid of this. Then enormous. So I came here, then let's just change this. Let's be fast with this. Sorry. Colors. So I'll jump into my HTML. And you know what? We did hide this, but I'll just be fast with this. I'll have H1. I'll say heading 1. We're just having a review. I'll have H2, heading 2. You could just have any content that you want to have inside here. So I'll just say heading 3. Then I'll save 3, guys. So we're still going to use internal CSS. So I'll come here and I'll say style. And sorry, guys. Then inside here, remember this is actually inside the head, so let me give a space so this is actually where the head ends, then the body. So there are actually 3 ways to um, to give to actually target elements and give them a color property. And the first thing we did in class was to look at how to use the color name, and let's target H1. So I'll say H1 and I'll say color, let's say blue. That was exactly what we did in class. So when I save this and let me split screen, and sorry about this, guys. Come right here and then see the first one actually, because I targeted it and I gave it a color of blue using the color name way of actually giving colors. So the second way that we actually looked at was the RGB, which I explained as red, green, blue. The colors actually so all the colors are actually a mixture of the three primary colors, which are red, green, blue. If you're interested in the research, you could, well, I don't really care about that. Sorry, guys. So to actually do that, I'm targeting the second element, and I'll say color. Then to do the RGB, I'll say RGB, and by default, let me actually increase this. By default, the VS Studio Code actually gives me like a simple template telling me I have to include a quantity of red. So, and it ranges from 0 to 255. So I can have maybe 0 amount of red, or at least 0 amount of red, and at most at least 0 amount of red, and at most 255 amount of red. So if I have 255 here and I have 0 here and I have 0 here, I think I should have a red. Yeah, I have a red. So when I look at this, you see I have, red color here. So the same goes for others. If I have a 0 amount of red and I have 255 amount of green, see I have green. If I have a 0 amount of green and I have 255 amount of the last, I have blue. So you see why it's red, green, and blue. I could actually have different composition. I could have 100 of green, 20 of blue, and I could just have 100 of red, and you see I have a special color there which I do not know the name. So the last thing we did was we looked at the hexadecimal, decimal approach of actually giving colors. And to do that, we'll target the H3. No, we're not just targeting this element. See, they actually right here. So we're targeting H3. And I'll say color. So, and I told you guys that the hexadecimal comprises from 0 to 9 and A to F. So like it's a mixture of numbers and alphabets, but the numbers will comprise from 0 to 9 and the alphabets from A to F, and it must start with like an hash sign. So for example, there's a trick I want to show you, and if I need a red, I could just say I'll use the RGB type. I'll say I need F. Since F is actually the extreme, I'll say F. I'll say green 0 and RGB and blue 0. So if I should do the same, I'll say I need the green. I'll say red 0 and green full, and last the next one 0. So if I need a blue, I'll say 0 0 and F. So it works, but you could actually, so let's say I showed you guys like the ones I use. I say like white is FFF, black is 000, and we also went to a website. We went to www.color-hex.com. So you don't have to cram all these like the color types. You could just come here, and there are a lot of colors. So let's go for this one. So I'll just grab this, come right here, and I'll paste it. So when I save this and I go back to, so I have the color. So these are actually, we don't actually have much to talk about in giving colors. As we progress, we get to learn more about So let me just grab this and change, you know, and I could just come here and say background, background color. So when I come here, so I have the background color changed. So it depends on what we want to do. So the next thing we looked at was the last thing we looked at in class was background and border. So to do that, let's come right here. To bring this out, I did Control B for our new guys. So Control B, so gets it out. So you can just come here and click it and say 05 underscore background underscore border dot html. Always remember to include dot html. We have our boilerplate here, so we just come here and say background, sorry about that guys, background underscore border, or whatever way you want to name that. So just as we did in class, we are actually going to have like 4 divs with an ID of box. So I'll say box, and let's just add a dash here. And when I hit enter, we're going to have 4 divs, but I want to use this as the experiment. So inside this div, I'll have an h2. I could just have an h2. I'll say box 1. Then I'll have a paragraph. Then I'll have lorem 20. So I'll grab this for the new guys. Just look at what I'm doing. I'll grab this and I'll do Shift Alt 1, 2, 3. So this will actually give me, copies of that. I'll come here and say 2. Come here and I'll did this as box 2. I'll come here and say 3. I'll come here and say box 3. I'll come here and say 4. And I'll come here and say box 4. Then I'll save this. You just go live, so you can follow along. So this should go live now. So we have our 4 boxes, 1, 2, 3, 4. So because we're actually going to do background and border, so we'll go into our head. Let me give some spacing here. So I just want the video to be quick, so you get pumped up for tomorrow's class. Then we're now going to target our first box. And remember how we target IDs. We do hash box 1. So let's look at background. So I'm going to say background, color or background. They're all the same thing. Then let's use F4, F4, F4. I use this a lot. And when I save this, and I don't know if it's visible, or let's just do 00, not 00, 00 FF 00. So we have a green background, and let's give it like a color. The color property actually targets the text. So we'll say hash FFF, which will give us white, and it doesn't look all that awesome, but we just it's not bad. So let's grab this Shift Alt 1, 2, 3, and let's change this and say box 2, box 3. I just want you to get the idea, so the video will be short and you get to So I'll just come here and say, sorry for the delay, guys. So I'll come here and say, I'll say 0000 FF. I need a blue, so I'll come here and say FF 0000 for a red. Sorry, you look ugly, but so I can just come here and say black. Or I could just do 000. So I have my 4 boxes. So we're done with borders. As we advance, we get to see how to make them look better. So the next thing we looked at was actually how to give a border radius, and to make the give the border radius and style the border. So to do that, we say border, to give a border radius, we say border radius, we say 10 pixels. I will explain what 10 pixels is. So when you look at this, you see that the edges are curved. So you see both edges are, all the edges are curved, left, right, top and bottom, because I just gave them, just 10 pixels. If I've done 10 pixels, top, and I'll say 10 pixels, and I'll say 0, 0. You see that we only have the left and the right, left and right, top and bottom, and the top and these two edges are actually not. I'll explain all this in class. Yeah, although I'll explain this in class, but just by looking at this, you know that in CSS, to style like a box, the borders of a box, the first value depends on, there are actually so many ways to do this, but because we want to keep the video short, the first value actually targets the top left, corner, the second top right corner. If we come here and we say 20 pixels, 20 pixels, this will target, this, the top, the bottom right corner. And if we come here, we say 10 pixels and 10 pixels, it's target the bottom left corner. Well, it depends on what we want to achieve, but for now, let's just stick to 10 pixels all around. And the next thing we looked at was border style. So you could, there are so many, thank goodness all disappear. So you could actually explore this, but in class. So let's use solid, and when you save it, okay, let's give it a color and border, yeah. So border color, let's give it black, so you could actually see the solid, So if we let's tweak this and say dotted, you see dots, let's say dashed. So you see they are dashed. But I actually showed you guys a better way of doing this in just one line of code. We could just say border, and we say 2 pixels, which is actually the border width, 2 pixels solid, and we'll give it a color of black, or we could just use our normal, give it a color of black. So you see that let's do it for the last one. Okay, yeah. So you see, just in one line of code, instead of writing like these 2 lines of code, we just wrote it in one line of code. So I just hope you got the point, and you could play with this, try for the third and the fourth boxes, and I hope this is just like a quick review, and feel free to pause to slow the video. I wanted it to be very short, and I look forward to seeing you in class tomorrow, pumped up with with so much energy and so much hope that your investments and the time you are actually expending to study and to learn to code, it's not just a joke. I don't really know how to put it, but I encourage you to keep practicing, keep reading content. Like, we have W3 schools. You could just, and ensure you bookmark this, because we're going to use it for our projects, and I know you're going to use this in the future. There are a lot of websites that offer this kind of contents about colors, but just feel free to do whatsoever you want to do. The internet is all yours, and I hope to see you in the next class. Stay tuned and have a wonderful evening.